Hello. Welcome to the Adult Swim Festival Blade Runner panel. I am your host, Tucson Egan of Polygon.com. And for our panel today, we have Shinji Aramaki, the co-director of Blade Runner Black Lotus. We have Kenji Kamiyama, the co-director of Blade Runner Black Lotus.
Hi.
Joseph Cho, the executive producer of Blade Runner Black Lotus.
Hi there.
Andrew Kosov, the executive producer of Blade Runner Black Lotus, and the co-CEO of Alcone Entertainment. And we have Broderick Johnson, executive producer of Blade Runner Black Lotus and the co-CEO of Alcone Entertainment.
Hello.
And our panel today is going to encompass all things Blade Runner, but particularly Blade Runner Black Lotus. We're going to answer all of your burning questions and make sure to stay tuned after the panel to be sure to watch the double premiere of Blade Runner Black Lotus at midnight on Adult Swim. So, without further ado, let's lead into the questions. So, Blade Runner has had such an expansive legacy ever since the first film came out, all the way through the recent cinematic installment of Blade Runner 2049. Why was now the right time to make a Blade Runner anime?
That's a great question. I mean, Broderick, do you want to take that one?
Well, the first thing we did with I'll call it the franchise or the IP, is we went to see Sir Ridley Scott over in London. And out of that was birthed the film. He had a core of the idea for 2049. And, we really formed a partnership with him to bring that to life. And then later Denis came on board. And, we all see how that turned out. We were very happy with it. During the course of marketing that film, one of the more innovative marketing ideas we had to sort of orient the audience to where we were in the canon and whatnot, because we went forward in the Blade Runner universe, was to do a set of short films. And one of the ideas was to do one of the shorts in an anime format. And that's when we met Joseph, and we did that. It was called Blackout 2022. And once the film had come out and we'd had so much fun working with these guys and saw how exciting it was to work with artists from Japan and who had been inspired by the original film, we decided to explore more into that format because, it sort of exposed the IP to a broader audience, we felt, and it was a way for artists to explore the universe.
Blade Runner Black Lotus certainly is something new to the franchise. It's a CGI anime. What motivated the decision into the process of choosing a studio and the overall look of the show?
Well, as Broderick said, Joseph, and Alcon worked together on Blackout 2022, and we began to think, God, wouldn't it be cool to do this as a series? And Joseph and our directors pitched us on a specific approach to the anime, which was very compelling to us. And our philosophy is, once we find filmmakers and a filmmaking team that we feel good about, we try to trust their vision and to back it. And we really believed in what their vision was. And we think audiences are going to be pretty thrilled with this, not only this anime, but this style of anime.
This next question is for Shinji Aramaki-san and Kamiyama-san. Before taking on Blade Runner Black Lotus, Sola and the directors had explored the sci-fi worlds of both Ultraman and Ghost in the Shell. Was there any trepidation about taking on yet another hugely beloved sci-fi property?
ウルトラマンとこの機動隊っていうのは、特にウルトラマンは、ウルトラマンが出てくるのでウルトラマンっていう部分もあったり、簡単ではもちろんないんですけど、ここ機動隊もそういう原作があって、それに出てくるキャラクターを使う。で、世界観を使うっていうことなんですけど、ブレードランナーっていうのはまたちょっと別の特別な部分があっ もともと最初は一本の映画をリドリー・スコットが作った、その世界をベースに、僕らの手で広げていくという作業になるので、そこが、しかも、ブレードランナーっていうのは非常にヘビーなファンがいっぱいいて、僕らもその一部だと思うんですけど、そういった意味で、なんていうのかな、何がブレードランナーなのかという線引きが非常に難しい作品だと思ってます。だから、アニメーションにして新しいストーリーを作ることで、これがちゃんと、ブレードランナーとして認められるだろうかという問いを常に自分たちに投げかけながら作るみたいな感じになるっていう部分が一番緊張した部分っていうのかな。これがちゃんとブレードランナーとして、ファンに認めてもらえるかなっていうところが、なかなか難しいところだったような気がします。
神山さん？
はい。ブレードランナーの、最初のブレードランナーの中に、よく漢字が使われてたりとかね、日本の文化っていうのが取り入れられてたと思うんですけど、世界中にブレードランナーファンっていうのはいると思うけど、僕たち日本人にとってね、ある種、あれはすごく特別な作品で、なんでだかわからないけど、日本をフィーチャーしてくれてるってことに対して、ものすごく親近感があったんですよね。なので、僕らは本当にたくさんのプロジェクトを抱えていたけど、ブレードランナーをアニメーションにしないかって言われたときに、断る理由がなかったっていうかね。僕たちもファンだったし、それを自分たちの手で作れるってことに関してはすごく興奮したし、アンドリュー・ブロドリックがね、この機会を僕たちにくれたことっていうのをすごく感謝していて、もうこれを作れるって聞いたときにはすごく興奮しましたよね。
So this question is for Kamiyama-san and Aramaki-san. Speaking of new stories, like Blade Runner Black Lotus features an all-new protagonist in the form of Elle. She is very exciting, very strong. And I wanted to ask, what went into your thought process of creating this character? Like, how does she grow throughout the series?
まず、オリジナルのストーリーを作ろうというときに、我々が考えた、選択肢がいくつかしかないかなと思っていて、主人公がブレードランナーなのか、レプリカントなのか、もしくはブレードランナーでレプリカントなのか。で、それが男性か女性かっていう、選択肢もおのずといくつかに限られていた中で、今までやっていないパターンとして、女性のレプリカントが主人公であるっていうパターンっていうのをまず考えて、じゃあ彼女が、その女性が主人公だとしたら、どういうストーリーにするべきだろうか。レプリカントなわけだから、迫害されたりね、苦しい立場から、彼女が自分のアイデンティティを探していく。復讐をしながらね。っていうような、そういうキャラクターの配置を考えていく中で、おのずと出てきた選択だったかなと思います。
成長に関して言うと、ストーリーの展開を詳しく言わないとなかなかそれが伝わらないので、ちょっとかなりネタバレになってしまうので、あんまりそこに触れないで説明しようとするとなかなか難しいんですが、主人公は最初に今、神谷さん言ったようにひどい目にあって、それがどうしてそういう目に自分があったのかっていうことを一生懸命、自分が何者なのかっていうことも含めて、なんていうか知りたいと思ってどんどん行動していくんですね。その中で、少ない手がかりの中でいろんなことが分かってきて、自分はどういう環境だったのか、どういう周りの状況だったのか、だんだん、なんていうのかな、情報が分かってくると、彼女の視点もどんどん広がっていくと。で、いろんな人に会う。で、状況が全体の状況がだんだん分かってくるという展開の中で彼女がじゃあ、これからどうするのかっていう選択をどんどん迫られるっていう話になっていくので、そういった意味での、視点の広がりと彼女のどういう、その状況を知った上でどういう選択をするのかという成長が描かれていくっていう感じですかね。ちょっと非常に抽象的な言い方で申し訳ないけど、 そんな感じの展開になると思います。はい。
And we were very excited to have a piece of the Blade Runner universe with a female lead as a character. I mean, women have played a very central role in all Blade. The original Blade Runner, of course, Pris was a very important character, and in 2049, you've got Love and Joy. But this is the first time our lead character is a female, and that's something that we think is really, really exciting and interesting. About the journey that Elle goes on in the show.
Absolutely. Her journey reminds me a lot of Kay's journey in Blade Runner 2049, and even in some ways of like Deckard's own journey, because it's a journey of not just discovery, but it's a journey of self-discovery and self-defining nature. Yeah.
Correct. Fundamentally, Blade Runner, if you go all the way back to the beginning, there's a fundamentally spiritual question at the center of all Blade Runner canon. And I think no matter what we ever do in Blade Runner, we do other movies or live action TV or whatever the case may be, that the question of what does it mean to be human is really the central question of Blade Runner. And what's really interesting about the time we live in now is we sit in 2021. So we're 2 years past the date of the original Blade Runner, which was 2019. So here we sit in 2021. You think about all the extraordinary advancements in medicine and technology. And so some of the concepts that when the original film came out in 1982 that seemed so far off, today don't seem so implausible, right? And so asking that question of, okay, what does it ultimately define to be a human? What if you have body parts, if you have a fake, if you have a replacement knee or a replacement hip, or you have so on and so forth, does that make you less human because you've been given something that wasn't, you weren't born with? What happens as AI and the concept of sentient beings becomes more and more present in terms of things that can be manufactured with technology? What does that say? And so it makes it really exciting to play in this world because a lot of the philosophical questions that it poses are becoming more and more relevant as time goes on.
Absolutely. I totally agree. This next question is for Aramaki-san and Kamiyama-san. The look of Blade Runner Black Lotus is very impressive, very striking. It's this blend of photorealistic CGI and something more expressive. Can you talk a little bit about how you struck upon that actual look and how did you balance it out throughout the course of the production of the series?
シリーズのルックですよね。
はい。どうしてこういうルックを選んだかだよね。ですね、ベースが実写の映画のものをアニメーションにするということで、あと、やっぱり、ブレードランナーの世界観ですね。すごくフォギーで、雨が降ってて、サンセールが降ってて、夜のネオン街のノワールの雰囲気っていうのを出すために、やっぱり 3DCG を選びたいなと。ムードをとにかく、出来上げアニメの中でも再現したいなと思いました。で、それでCGI をベースにしたプロダクションにしたっていうのがありまして、その中で、じゃあキャラクターはどうするかというと、全部フォトリアリスティックにすることもできたとは思うんですけど、それだと、実写と同じアニメーションにする意味があんまりないな、みたいなところもありましたんで、リアルでありつつも少しやっぱりデフォルメされたキャラクターというか、なんかいいバランスでデフォルメされたキャラクターが作れないかなということで、デザイナーの、パトリック・アワさんっていう、アメリカでも、日本人なんですけど、アメリカで長く、デザインをされた方がいらっしゃって、彼がすごくいいバランスのキャラクターを作ってくれるんじゃないかっていうことでお願いして、彼がそういう、ディティールはリアルでありながらも、バランスは少し、それを、なんていうかな、デフォルメしてるというか、なんかすごくいい、アニメーションらしいというか、そういうキャラクターを作ってくれたので、それをできるだけ、その印象を、作中でも、活かしたいなということで、いろいろトライアンドエラーしつつ、ルックを作っていったっていう感じですかね。やっぱり、 まあ、モーションキャプチャーも使ってるんですけど、やっぱりどこか、実写ではないアニメらしさっていうキャラクターの質感とか、動きとかが欲しいなと思って、いろいろ調整した結果が、ルックになっていると思います。それが、皆さんに気に入ってもらえるといいなと思っております。
そうですね。我々がやっぱり特にこだわったのは、そのライティングの部分ですよね。で、どうしてもブレードランナーの世界観を表現するには、結局、ああいうダークでね、で、こう、ストリートにはいつも雨が降っているっていうですね。これを、ある種、それがこのブレードランナーの世界観の主役というかね、そういうもんなんだなというふうに、まあ、我々は理解して、とにかくブレードランナーらしいルックになるライティングっていうことにすごくこだわったし、とにかく雨はよく降らせましたよね。
The lighting is particularly one of the most striking things in this series. I've watched a couple of the episodes and I was just sort of blown away by how beautiful it actually was. The motes of dust in the light beams, like the rain, it looked like Blade Runner. It's like there's no other way to put it. It looked like Blade Runner. This next question is for Andrew and Broderick. Blade Runner Black Lotus was written in the US and produced both in Los Angeles and in Tokyo. Can you talk to us a little bit about how the production process sort of came together? How did you decide about the division of labor? How did all of these pieces come together?
It's interesting. It's a process, frankly. I think one of the keys to it, frankly, is Joseph himself, who, is both a wonderful producer and he's a very good translator and also has an incredible company down in Japan who, together with the directors, the motion capture was done there, all the CG animation was done there and whatnot. A lot of the writing and supervision of that writing was done in Los Angeles, but it was also very much done in Japan and then translated back and forth with notes and comments. We tried to give, really give our artists as much flexibility as possible. But as you know, there are certain, rules, canon, things that we wanted to protect within certain guardrails. And so really it was a lot of the music was done in Los Angeles through our group ASG. And so it was really a big team effort across 2 continents. And so it was a fun but challenging process, frankly.
We were fortunate, we had some practice because we had the, great experience with Watanabe-san on our short that we did with Joseph, Blackout 2022. And Watanabe did an incredible job with that. And it gave us a little opportunity on something, much shorter to get a sort of a working process as how we'd communicate between, our offices in LA and working with Joseph in Japan. And then, that gave us a framework to work from as we started, with the TV series.
Now, you mentioned the music. Speaking of the music, tell us a little bit about how you approach creating the score, because the soundtrack for this show is both very much like Blade Runner that we've known it and also very different. Like, tell us about how you approach exploring new territory with this series in particular.
That's correct. I mean, one of the, going back to the original film, I mean, Blade Runner has influenced so many aspects of art. It's not just cinema, but it's fashion, it's design, and it's music. And what Vangelis did, the score with the original film, there are so many musical artists that we all love today whose initial inspiration to become musicians came from Vangelis and that score. And so what we wanted to do, it's nice to hear, we hope people will feel we accomplished it, is both to honor the sound of the original film, but also give some of today's artists an opportunity to give their own spin and interpretation on, you know, how that original music from Blade Runner has influenced them and how they translate it in something that may be a little bit different, but still has its roots in Blade Runner. And that's what we tried to accomplish with the musical score that I think, and some songs that's a little broader than what people, you know, associate with Blade Runner. But the goal, of course, is to make as big a tent for the IP as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. This next question is for Aramaki-san and Kameyama-san. So this series was largely produced during a global pandemic that none of us could have planned for. What was it like creating this series in such a challenging environment, in such a challenging time? If Andrew or Broderick would like to chime in as well, they may as well too if they want.
Heart attacks.
Yeah, we'll let Joseph.
Well, yeah, I mean, Joseph, why don't you start and we can chime in?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think when the epidemic, I mean, before we even were able to call it epidemic started, we really actually in the beginning didn't think much of it, but when it really hit Japan, especially, and it was really closing in on Japan as we were seeing the news from around the world, and so it was one of well, it'll blow by to, okay, people are not coming to the studio. And government has then decreed a shutdown. So it means we had to shut everything down. And because at the time, no news about vaccine, no hope of anything. And so that, you know, but it's, you know, as I was desperately explaining to Andrew and Broderick when we were going through this, and it's like a train, you know, so when you stop a train that's been running like 9 miles per hour and you stop it, it doesn't, just because you stopped it for a month, it doesn't mean you can just pick up in a month and get to the same speed. There's a build speed again that you've lost. So there was a massive hit to the production. And so it's something that we were really scrambling about. And but, you know, it took a lot of adjustment on our side, but at the same time, we really needed a lot of help from Alcon. So I've reached out to both Andrew and Broderick, and I had to break down what that meant, and really breaking down what that meant, not just creatively, but also how about staffing? You know, okay, we up the number of staff, which really is very hard to get in this environment. Do we up the number of machines just so that we can go faster? But it's not a very exact formula where you add, 2 or 5 to it, then you get a certain result. So it was a lot of scrambling, but I mean, both of these guys were great, and they were just behind it. And they said, "This is Blade Runner. We're going to get it done." And we had more than full support from them. And then, with the directors, I mean, we really pulled everybody together, all-nighters, and, sometimes at the risk of our lives, which is really strange for, to say about producing something, a piece of, anime series. But it's really literally people came in with the attitude that we're going to get this done, and we're going to get this done right. And that's something that drove us. I mean, we really were excited to start on this, but it's also a sense of mission, because it's like one of the directors said, it's a privilege given to us. And, it's one thing you don't mess up on. And so we really, really wanted to deliver on this. And so, I mean, it took a lot of human effort, I have to say, and it took a lot of risk. And there were a lot of, there were scary times. But we were just incredibly just be happy to be here just to talk about how it was made, and so that it could be presented to the audience. Finally, I still really can't believe that we're here, but we're here, and I'm incredibly grateful especially for these two guys, and also just to be part of this universe and just to get to this point and something that could be called Blade Runner. And yeah, so it's a that question really hit me in the right place.
Well, it's a testament, look, to an extraordinary human effort, of the team in Japan. It's our wonderful directors, but it's also everyone else who doesn't, get to be on this, panel, who work behind the scenes to make this possible. And Broderick and I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for all those people who work so hard under such challenging circumstances.
That dedication and that perseverance certainly shows in the final product. I can definitely say that.
Thank you.
This next question is for Andrew and Broderick. Blade Runner Black Lotus honors the Blade Runner films and everything that has come before, but it also pushes into new territory, both with its visuals, with its action, with its music, the entirety of the series. What factors went into deciding how far to push the envelope with this series? Like, how far did you really want to go in expanding the universe of Blade Runner?
I think that's partially for us and also partially for our directors. Anytime you go into the Blade Runner universe to create something new, whether it's 2049 or comics as we're doing and this series or whatnot, it's always a challenge because, one, there's such a high bar for Sir Ridley's original vision and the impact it's had in every aspect. But also because of that, it's been, frankly, ripped off so much from other film shows, everything. It's been copied that, you run if you don't try anything new, you could be accused of ripping off your own show to some extent or your own piece of content. So it's always, you're always looking to how to push the envelope in some way, because that's what Ridley did originally. He pushed the envelope. There was nothing. I don't think there was anything like it before, and frankly, not much afterwards. So it's always, you're always trying to honor that, but also give as much flexibility as possible to artists so that something special can be created. I don't think you can go into a situation and just say, well, we're just going to copy that and end up with something great. So, it was our responsibility to try to help with those guidelines. But at the end of the day, I think Shinji and Kenji were very passionate about the story they wanted to tell and how they wanted to tell it. And we tried to support that.
No risk it, no biscuit. We'll see if Joseph can translate that into Japanese.
Right.
Right. But no, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? And so that's the nature of art, no matter what the art form is. And so we don't think we've done anything here that breaks the world, so to speak. Indeed, from a narrative standpoint, this story falls very much into the canon, almost equidistant between the end of the original Blade Runner in 2019 and the start of the sequel, in 2049. So narratively, it falls very much, and there's going to be some wonderful Easter eggs in there that connect people to both the original film in 2049, and then there's original elements to this that we think people will find entertaining and delightful, and that was the balance we wanted to achieve.
I caught a couple of those Easter eggs while watching the episodes. I won't mention any of them for the sake of spoiling them. They're better off if people watch the show themselves and discover them. I think they'll be just as delighted as I am. Blade Runner is one of those films that almost the entire genre of cyberpunk is indebted to Blade Runner. It is the text. Everything is derived from it in some way or another.
EDM is basically driven, from Blade Runner, and design elements and fashion elements. It really is a very impactful achievement from Sir Ridley Scott. I mean, Blade Runner really is a handful of films that really have continued to influence culture long after they were, released.
Absolutely. This next question is for Aramaki-san and Kameyama-san. There are some major voice talent in this series. How did you direct well-known Hollywood actors who don't necessarily speak the same language as you? Was it rewarding or was it challenging working with these actors to bring these characters to life?
2019年だっけ ?2019 年にまだパンデミックが起こる前に、何度か僕ら LA に一緒に行って、その脚本ができたのを台本に、ボイスレコーディングを先に現地で一緒に、現地に行ってやったんですね。その時に、何人かの役者さんはちゃんとスタジオに来たし、その時に、レコーディングディレクターのウェズと一緒に作業できたので、彼が非常に優秀で、僕らのイメージとかそういったものをその時にかなり直接ディスカッションできてたので、彼がすごく、ベースラインとしては彼がちゃんとディレクションしてくれて、それに対して僕らに一つずつ、いちいち確認してくれて、今のトーンでいいかみたいな話をするという、信頼関係みたいなのがもうできてたので、去年からさらにレコーディングが続いた時はもうずっとリモートでやってたんですけど、その時にはもう、ウェズとの、やりとりがうまくいってたんで、それと別にテキストで通訳と、やりとりしながら、随時指示は出してたんですけど、その辺は意外とうまくいったし、で、英語が、本当のところの詳しい、喋れないし、100% 理解できるわけでもないんですけど、シナリオとしては、こっちは理解してますので、ここでどういうトーンが必要かっていうのは、それは日本のアフレコとほぼ変わんないトーンが、聞けば大体今のトーンが強いか弱いかっていうのはわかるし、その時に、例えば英語で、アメリカでは今のは十分かみたいなことを確認しながらやってたので、丁寧にはやってたと思いますので、日本みたいに日本も今ちょっとパンデミックでアフレコの形式が変わってますけど、一度に全員取るっていうんじゃなくて、一人ずつ取っていくっていう形式だったので、その辺は丁寧にやれたと思います。
はい。そうですね。英語で、なので、それを、僕たちはね、英語が苦手だったので、ディレクションするってこと自体、すごく難しい状況の中で、他にもいろいろトラブルがあったんだけど、一応僕ら監督だから、冷静なふりをしてましたけど、ハリウッド映画で僕たちがファンだったね、役者さんたちも出てるんで、内心は一緒に写真を撮りたいなとか思いながら、スタジオに入ってました。
リモートでしたけどね。
はい。後半はリモートだったけどね。
So English is obviously not their primary, not our primary language. Obviously we needed the filter to be able to really understand and help direct the scenes. But all in all, I mean, we're directors, so we have to put on a straight face and be director-like. But we were just very excited with the actors that who came on board to do this with us. And unfortunately, it was remote, but we couldn't raise our hands and say, "Hey, let's take a photo together." So.
I think that's all the time that we have for questions for today. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for attending today's panel. It has been a pleasure and an honor. And I want to extend a thank you to the audience tuning in and watching this panel right now. Be sure that you don't forget to catch the double premiere of Blade Runner Black Lotus tonight at midnight on Adult Swim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.